Welcome back. Welcome to step 15 of this Mockito course where we're going to discuss about Power Mock. In this step, what we would do is we would use Power Mock and a Mockito to mock a static method. So one of the things which we learned in the previous steps is the fact that Mockito does not allow you to mock static methods. So if your program contains a static method which you would want to mock, then how do you do that? What we would do is we would use another framework called PowerMock. So what we would do is in a test which is driven by Mockito, which is run by Mockito Runner, what we'll do is we'll try and use PowerMock and mock a static method. So this is the specific test that we are going to create and write in this specific video. There are a few things that we would need to do to use PowerMock. One of the things is we would need to add a couple of new dependencies. So we need to add a dependency called PowerMock API Mockito and PowerMock module JUnit form. So this is the basic PowerMock module, and this is the thing which we need to include because we are going to integrate PowerMock with Mockito. So we need to include these two dependencies in. That would be our first step. We need some code to write the tests for. That would be our second step, to copy some code which we will write the tests for. So you can search for system under test.java. So I think if you just search for system, that's where you would get to. So system under test.java, this system under test is a very simple thing. So there's an interface dependency which is declared, and it has three methods. One is calling a static method, one is a private method, and the other one is using a constructor. What we'll do over the sequence of next three steps is write unit tests for different methods. In this step, we would write a unit test for this method calling a static method. If you look at this particular method calling a static method, what it's doing is it's calling a utility class dot static method. So there's a utility class static method which it's calling. The utility class is right here. I mean, it does not, it's actually throwing an exception because I don't want this to be really called. I want to mock this as part of this particular step. What we'll do is actually this method calling a static method is getting some values, it's getting some stats, looping around them, adding them in, and then it's using a utility method to do something. Until now, we have been mocking normal dependencies. So this dependency is a normal dependency, and we were mocking these retrieve all stat methods because this is a normal method call on a object. But this one here is a little different in the sense that this one is a static method call. How do you override static method calls? That's basically what we'll discuss now. So as a first step, what we'll do is we'll set up these two classes. So we'll, because this is just plain Java code, what we'll do is we'll copy them in. I don't want to waste your time to write this entire class. I mean, this is just plain old Java class with no magic. So it's basically a system under test which has a dependency and has a static method, and this static method is a method calling a static method, and this method is calling a static method. That's basically what it is. That's the second step, to create a simple example so that we can have the code to write the test for. And then we would start using PowerMock. So we added the dependency, we created the real code which is having a method which is calling a static method, and then we would start using PowerMock. So we'll use a runner called PowerMock runner, and then we would need to do a little bit of setup. So using PowerMock involves a little bit of more complexity than just Mockito. So we just need to do a little bit more setup, and then we would be able to mock the static method. So we'll be able to say when this static method is called, then return 150. And also at a later point in this step, we will look at how to verify whether the static method is called. So we are saying when this is called, return this, but is that actually happening? And what is the value that is passed to that particular method? So that's done using PowerMock.verify static, and those are the different things that we would do as part of this step. So let's get started with the first thing. Let's get started with setting up the dependencies. So let's take these dependencies. If you really want to type them in, please go ahead and type them in. I would want to save your time, so let's go ahead and copy them into your pom.xml. So let's open up our pom.xml. There we go, and wait for it to load up. It's a little slow. Okay, there we go. I would want to add these dependencies in, so I'll go to the end and I'll put them in here. They're all in test scope. That's good. I don't want them to be used to, I don't want them to be used to build my code. They are just useful to write unit tests. So they are in test scope, and that's good. So we have our dependencies added in. As usual, let's go and check whether our dependencies are added in the Maven dependencies. There we go. So we have the PowerMock modules, PowerMock core, PowerMock JUnit 4 is coming in, and also we have the Mockito. One simple thing about Maven is that when we just added in 2 dependencies and Maven pulled in more than 2, I think 5 or 6 dependencies. The reason is because this dependency, PowerMock API Mockito, might have its own dependencies. PowerMock module JUnit 4 might have its own dependencies. So what Maven does, the magic that Maven does is that it will pull this dependency as well as the dependencies that this dependency depends on. So that's called transitive dependencies. If you're really interested in Maven, I recommend you to check out our course on Maven as well. Maven does a lot of magic and it makes it very easy to manage your dependencies. Now, let's get to step 2, which is to create the code. So that's system under test.java. So I'm searching for system under test. What I'll do is use a wonderful Eclipse feature. So I'll just need to highlight all the code which is in here. So I'm highlighting it, and if you see this, I'm highlighting all the code here, and all that I need to do is right click, copy. Do that and go to your Eclipse and go to your main.java because that's part of your source code. Right click and paste. So we copied that particular file from here, so you can see that we copied the file, and I'm going to do a paste here. Aha, magic. So there you go. The system.test is now created. It's all ready, except that it's giving a compilation error because the utility class is not yet there. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for the utility class. Right below it is the utility class, and let's go ahead and copy it in. Same thing, right click, paste. So we copied it there, Control C, and pasted it now. Utility class is now here. So what we have in the system.test is basically 3 methods. One is calling a static method. That's the focus of this specific step. There are other methods, private method and one using a constructor. Those are not important for us right now. So we have a method calling a static method. So we have a utility class dot static method, and I would want to mock this particular method out. So because let's say this utility class is talking to some interface or something external, some complex logic is happening here and it's talking to something else and else. I don't want to really use that in my unit test. What I want to do is mock this out. What we want to do now is to write a unit test for this.